probably aware, if this isn't the first time you've seen the podcast, we're always looking for people and processes and products and services to be able to eliminate what I believe to be the unnecessary pain that is experienced by all parts of the building industry, not just the builder, but the team, the clients, the prospects, the suppliers, everybody. There's a whole lot of unnecessary pain, and we're constantly trying to find solutions to deal with that and give you tools to be able to overcome it and just enjoy what you're doing. And in this episode, I'm going to be speaking to Kyle Zanetto from Zanetto Builders up in Lonnie. That's Launceston for you non-locals and the people that aren't in Tasmania. And Kyle is one of our Builders Business Black Belt members, and we don't normally have Builders Business Black Belt members on this particular podcast. But in this case, I was really excited and asked Kyle if he would come on and we could just pick his brain and just get a sense of his journey, particularly over the last sort of 18 or 12 to 18 months in his building business. Because one of the things that I know for sure and certain is that if you are in the right community, if you're getting the right influences, and you've kind of got the right energy around you, it can make a profound difference to your business. And Kyle had already built an amazing business all on his lonesome, but he jumped into the Blueprint program and then Black Belt some time ago. And I'm going to let Kyle fill you in on what the story has been so far. So, Mr. Kyle Zanetto, welcome to the Tool Shed. How are you going?
Hey, Mick. G'day, everyone. Yeah, really well, thank you. Yep.
So,
Good start to the week.
Yeah, just the where I'd like to start is just like your story getting into the building industry in the first place. Like, forget about Black Belt and all that sort of stuff. Did you sort of jump onto the tools as an apprentice carpenter out of school? I mean, I did that as an electrician. Did you do that? I just want to sort of establish that story because I think many people in the building industry that end up running their own building businesses kind of have that same start, and it's good to sort of figure out where we get our influences and some of our roadblocks from sometimes.
Yeah, well, mine was a bit of an interesting story. So I kind of went through high school and college with a bit of aspiration to become an engineer, basically kind of following my father's footsteps and going into the civil construction game. And then I basically went through school. A lot of my closest mates dropped out after grade 10 and went and got trades. And I ended up going through college, which I really enjoyed college, enjoyed the mathematics and physics side of things. And then, yeah, I got to year 12 and then decided that I just wanted to be outdoors with all my other mates. So the start of my journey was literally just working the Sunday shift in the supermarket, which I've done since I was 14. Actually stuck that out for 10 years, so I was still building and chopping groceries and packing groceries for customers. And then, yeah, I was just literally working in there on a Sunday, and a few of the local builders that came through regularly, I just jumped out and just asked them for a job. And yeah, the next day I went and started building apprenticeship at the age of 18.
So you're doing the standard thing like many, I guess, carpenters do. They get a job with a builder. Can you just run me through, if you can remember? I know it's not as if you're 100 years old, so it's not that long ago. Some thoughts you were having, and maybe even the moment where you decided I'm gonna run my own show. Like I think that happens to a lot of people. They've got a job with somebody else, and there's some things go on that I don't know whether they think that they can do it better or just might get some more freedom, or I don't know. What were your thoughts when you were an employee and started to think about running your own show?
Yeah, I think for me, my personal mindset, I've always been a bit of an overachiever with everything I did. So I kind of not get bored, but settle in a place quite quickly and look for something new all the time. So to work for someone else for my entire career was never my goal, I guess. Growing up in a family where my father ran his own business as well, I guess that kind of mentality was around me quite often. So I think ever since I started an apprenticeship, my aspiration was to go out and start my own company. So as soon as that 2 years was up after my apprenticeship and I had my required qualifications, I was straight into it.
And sort of going back to, day one when you're starting your own business. I mean, it's probably exciting and terrifying all in the in the same experience. What were some of the things that you started to notice that perhaps you didn't expect when you first started your own business that popped up and you went, oh shit, I didn't expect that, or I didn't think about that, or that's a problem? What were some of the things you were dealing with in those early times?
It's all money related, financial stuff. I think like most of us chippies, we love what we do. We like working with a few mates, and then we decide we're going to go out and run a business, but we don't understand what our true cost is, what the running costs for the company are, how to quote jobs, what other people we need involved around us to run a successful business. So for me, yeah, we kind of just jumped in the deep end. We were young lads, we were just working heaps of hours, had no idea what we were doing business wise, and we honestly just worked hard, and that's just what got us through. And yeah, the financial side of it wasn't really there. It was whack an hourly rate of 45 or $50 an hour back and when we started, and just see what happens. And then yeah, when the tax bill or whatever comes, yeah, dig that out of whatever savings if there was any left, and
Yeah,
just keep rolling with the punches.
yeah. So basically, just bought yourself a job. Wasn't really a business, but
Yeah,
so
no.
what were some of the I guess the first thoughts that you had about, oh, I think we need to learn this, or I think we need to put a system in here, or I think we need to get a little more organised or professional or something, business improvement side of things. What were some of those first early thoughts and some of the things that you started to work on to turn it into a bit more of a business?
I think the first one was I did my own bookwork for the first 4 years, and then basically went into accounting and you just said, "What an absolute mess you've made here, Kyle. You don't know what you're doing. Why you're trying?" So the back end side was definitely something that was an issue. And the first big wake up call for me was I was probably in 3.5 years in, 4 years in, and I priced a $1.3 million job on a 9-page Excel spreadsheet with very, very limited information. Um, yeah, and I look back on that now and just wonder how we even got through it. So I think every time I learn something throughout my career, it's been from falling over flat on my face and getting potentially burnt by it, then having to implement something. So that was just me learning through failure, I guess.
Yeah, but there's plenty of people that do that, and it's important to note. I think that really, I think it might have been Tony Robbins that I heard say it. That was that good judgment is a product of bad judgment. And what that fundamentally means is we all stuff up, but I think the successful people own the mistake and genuinely learn from it. And what I mean genuinely learn from it is that many people make a mistake and they go, I made the mistake, we've learned our lesson, but they don't learn the lesson. They just say they've learned the lesson and off they go, and they don't really put any preventative measures or shifts or changes in their systems or their processes or their skills or whatever to prove to themselves they learn their lesson. And something that I'm constantly suggesting to people when they make a mistake that costs them some money. And I remember Steve, his name, Stevie O, was a black belt member many years ago. We had the conversation where he did a project and I think he lost $74,000. And this is sort of 7 or 8 years ago when $74,000 was a lot of money. And he said, I've learnt the lesson, and we sort of started to unpack it. What was the lesson that you learned? And there wasn't anything specific. So we spent, a significant amount of time figuring out what the lesson was, but learning what to implement in the systems, the procedures, the reporting, whatever it might be. So that $74,000 you've paid for the lesson starts to give you a return on your investment over time. That's the secret to learning from your mistakes. And I see you do that. You're a wonderful contributor to the community. And I'd like to just sort of start to get your thoughts on what was going on in your mind that caused you to want to reach out to get some support and some guidance as far as coaching, because males traditionally don't like doing that. Australian males are really bad at it. Australian male builders are really awful at it. They don't want to reach out for help. They think they should be able to do all of this themselves. So what shifted in your mind to reach out and get started?
Um, mine got to the point where it was either sink or swim. Basically, for me, I kind of had a few sort of mental breakdowns from overwork, so I'm pretty well obsessed with business and running a business. And up until probably 14, 15 months ago, I'd run 12 blokes. I'd try and do all the back end efforts of the business as well as trying to do 40 hours on site. So I was consistently knocking out 80 to 100 hours a week. Um, and yeah, and then as you do when you start snacking that many hours, there's something that's got to give, and it's your health and your personal life behind the scenes. So had another relationship fall out, lost quite a bit of money on a couple of jobs throughout COVID, and then I just hit I would rock bottom would be a good example, and then I just got on Google and just found you guys and decided to reach out, and that was the turning point for me, and yeah, now I've never looked back.
You've got a lot of connections, particularly in the building industry. And I would hazard a guess that what you've just mentioned there isn't an isolated incident. It's not just you that works hard and that affects their relationships and affects their health. Do you notice that there are lots of other guys sort of around your age group and potentially even older that are suffering from the same thing? And if the answer is yes, is there any words of wisdom that you can give them to help them out of it, because it's a pretty lonely place back in the cave by yourself?
Yeah, and it's funny you mention it. Like my first boss when I was apprentice, same thing, overworked, marriage breakup. Second boss, exact same thing, and then funny enough, I fell in the same hole.
Mm.
You'd think I would have learned, but yeah, I think that even in the group I'm in at the moment, we all go through that phase. Rather than building a business that works for you, you build a business and you end up just working for it. And that's that kind of stage in those first 2 or 3 years. If you haven't got a key mentor to teach you how to manage time, manage your emotions, and manage a business or help you grow a business that does work for you, you don't work for it, then you wind up in a hole. And I see so many builders that are 40, 50, 60 years old. And if only they'd had that resource to reach out to, they could have changed their life in 12 months. But instead, they've worked their entire life extremely hard and probably haven't enjoyed it as much as they should have.
Yeah. We'll come back to that point you just made about what you can do potentially in 12 months. But before we do that, I just want your thoughts on being part of a community, selecting the right community. And it's something that I talk about all of the time. I did another session last week on the Builders Business Success podcast, actually in the Toolshed app, purely about community. And one of the things that I mentioned was when we were just generalist business coaches and we shifted from that one-on-one sort of one phone call with your coach or meeting with your coach every week to the group scenario where we were talking to the whole group once a week or twice a week on Zoom. The results in that first year that we went from one to one to one to many increased by about 400%, meaning that what used to take a year to accomplish was taking about 3 months. And I knew for sure and certain that was nothing to do with me. I mean, I didn't become 4 times better overnight. It was purely the community. So what can you say, give us your experience about the value of the community? And, and I say that knowing that you are one of the best contributors in our community. Like what you offer and how you support other members is inspirational. And I know, they support you. You had conversations this week that were really beneficial, and people are still talking about it. And it's all about what you're just talking about there, that mental health thing, that we all push under the rug and don't talk about it, and became a very, very open conversation. And people are saying it was incredibly worthwhile. So tell us about your experience in relation to being part of a community of kind of like-minded people in the same industry as well, not just like-minded, like we're all in the same business.
Yeah, no, there's definitely value in numbers. For me, yeah, you could sit down with one mate at the pub that's a builder that's having all the same issues, but being in a community such as Black Belt, we can sit down with 30 people that are having 30 separate issues. Um, and being able to just discuss those, like I know I've had a pretty difficult week over the last week, and just raising the topic about mental health and anxiety and a few other bits and pieces, where someone like me might have felt quite alone in that space,
Mm.
is quite comfortable to reach out in a group setting. And then the calls I've had over the past 24 hours and the messages from the people in the team, like that support's been amazing. And the insight that I got um, from them dealing with similar issues, which I was completely oblivious of. I thought kind of alone on this. You go, oh, well, maybe all of these issues aren't so personal and everyone's going through the same thing. And I've got that support network to be able to reach out, and something that by myself could take 12 months to fix, I might have 4 or 5 suggestions in the next 3 weeks. I might be able to fix it. And that's definitely my mentality with what I bring to the group, and my, I suppose, goal to just give as much value as possible. Because if I had that resource 4 or 5 years ago, I would be a lot further advanced. I would have saved myself a lot of heartache and stress and all the other issues that come along with running a stressful business and not having a good mentor in your life. So yeah, I think that the group that we have and the way we bounce off each other and are free to share or talk about anything, that's the real power of the group.
Mm. And I think you've brought up a really important point to unpack as well when you said, and you're not the only person that's ever said, wish I knew this 5 or 6 years ago. Some people say, I wish I knew this 35 years ago. But like I used to think that as well, and I don't think it anymore. Like I wish that I had learnt this earlier, because what I've noticed when I step back from this and watch you and watch other people, that if they have experienced the challenges that you were talking about before, you are so much more committed and will turn your success into a long-term resilient success pathway, because you've gone through the pain. If you didn't have those challenges, if you didn't have those hurdles, you wouldn't be anywhere near committed to doing it right and learning and improving. The other thing that I think is super important too, being part of the community, is having fun, and supporting each other, and just doing things that put a shit-eating grin on your face. It's got nothing to do with business. And I know that there's a bunch of you. There's you and Robbie and Dean and Anthony and Josh and a bunch of other sort of guys all around your age, Joel, that unbeknownst to me, not that I'm the keeper of everything, in charge of everything, but you all jump on planes and you go and visit each other and spend the weekends together, and they come down to your awards, and you've been up there doing podcasts with other coaches and them and just hanging around and having a great time. I just think that is so important, to have a community where you can do that. Like, you can really let your hair down. I know we all had an awesome time up in Darwin with our face-to-face intensive. It was just a barrel of laughs, but we learnt some good stuff at the same time. I think that's so important, to be able to have an absolute fun community, but a community that will still hold you to a higher standard, and even in the, perhaps some of the drunken conversations, you're still talking about something that's valuable. Have you experienced that?
I can't do that. Yeah, and it's funny. I was having this conversation, I think, with Josh or Robbie the other night. Like, I've got friends that I've been friends with for 20 years, but I don't get the same kind of like response or support
Mm.
from people that I've known for 6 months in this group. So, like, I talk to these boys every single day, and if I'm feeling down or I've got an issue, it's just so comfortable to pick the phone up,
Yep.
chew the fat, have a chat about it. I know that they have the confidence to do the same with me. So I think having that group and us all kind of go in the same direction, we kind of understand each other, and we can sit down and have those conversations because it's so relatable. So it's very powerful.
Mm. Yeah, it certainly is a fantastic community. A little minute ago, you said, if you knew this a little while ago, the situation would be very, very different. And it's amazing what you can do in a 12-month period. And I mentioned a while ago, like when we went from one to many, one to one to one to many, we increased by a factor of 4. That was in probably the first year. By now, we're sort of in our 9th year or something like that. And if we were to put our pencil to it, the results and the progress of people coming into this environment now would be more than 10 times. Like we have more than 10x it since we first started. And again, all due to the community. Like, so I might sort of put events together and hold things together, but it is 100% due to the quality of the people in that community. So maybe just give us a bit of a run through as to what you were thinking and feeling before you started Blueprint, because that was the entry thing. What was going on in your business back then that was keeping you up at night or concerning you? And what's your progress been like? Like how have things changed over the last 12 to 14 months?
Yeah, that's a big question. There's lots and lots in that, to be honest. Like where I look at where I was 12 months ago to where the business and my own personal state of mind is now is just black and white. Um, when I first rang Julie, I still remember the spot on the side of the highway where I pulled over and rang her up, and just started unpacking where my head was at, where my business was at, what systems we had in place, what support I had in place, which was absolutely nothing at that time. It was just
Mm,
me.
mm.
And here we are now.
And still 12
I reckon
blokes at that time?
I think we were running 10, 11 blokes at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It was just me in the office, and now here we are. I think it's must only be 12 or 13 months later, and we've got 17 blokes in Lonnie, and we're about to have another 6 starting in Hobart. We've got a general manager, a marketing and media guy in our team full time as well, and the new systems that we've brought in since joining the group, from Automation King to Systemology. There's just, yeah, like the sky's the limit once you start working with people and understanding the improvements you can make on your business. And for me, the big one was understanding time, and time blocking. I think time blocking was a huge game changer for me and the PSR. Like you cannot get anything else right until you get yourself right. So
Correct.
waking up every day and getting your head in the right space and planning out your day for productivity, to work on the things which matter most, that's just a huge game changer. So yeah, we're going from being in the red with a job where we lost $150,000 on last year to being in a really, really comfortable spot, and but just being able to expand into Hobart, and don't really have any financial stress at the moment. So, and that's just 12 months. So what can we do in 10 years?
Yeah. And, one of the things that we have introduced in the last sort of 3 or 4 months in Black Belt in the conversations, and particularly in boardroom. So for those who aren't familiar, like you start in the Blueprint. I'll get you to comment on that in a minute. And you just work on 3 pillars, and that's it. And anything else is an illegal maneuver. We're not going to talk about it. We're just going to build that foundation. Then you got the opportunity to go into Black Belt, which is what you did. And then when you get a degree of financial and time freedom from your business, you can take the opportunity to jump into a thing called boardroom, which is lots of small groups with lots of measurability and accountability, and a very much a focus on thinking 10x, and really, really challenging each other. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what was your experience just coming into the Blueprint? Because I know you're an impatient bastard, and when someone comes into Blueprint, it's the personal success ritual, the PSR that you alluded to, and mindset is one pillar. The second is building a quality client pathway. So it's nothing to do with marketing. We won't talk about marketing. We won't talk about leadership or team or anything like that. We'll talk about those 2 things and profit first. To start to build the financial foundation. Like, it doesn't turn your finances around in 12 weeks, but it builds the foundation so you can in a short time after that. So what was your experience coming into that? And just be honest, what was it like being only allowed to cover those 3 topics and those 3 topics only?
I come out of the gates absolutely flying, to be honest. Like I'd get up in the morning and I'd knock my PSR out and I'd be listening to my motivational video and I'd be so excited to get into it. Like you have the tears welling up in your eyes. Like that's how excited I was every single morning to get up and get stuck into it for the day. So that change in headspace for me and actually having goals that were what I thought were unachievable one day that now I'm starting to achieve already in the space of 12 months and just having a bit of direction that goes down on paper every day. Like you said, there's a huge power in actually putting pen to paper rather than using technology to write things down, and just continually going over that routine day in, day out. I think you create a really positive habit, and that's how you can build a really strong mindset and really have a good direction for where you want to go and how to get there. So that was really beneficial. And the profit first thing, like once I went down that road, that was a no-brainer. I can't believe no one had told me how to told me how to use my money. Like back in the day, I used to get $100,000 for a job and go, oh, well, got 100,000, go and spend now. Yeah, I just don't know how that's not more widely spread or taught
Mm.
around the industry. So, yeah, understanding your financial side of your business, that's just huge. And yeah, quality client pathway, massive. We have very stringent application process now for who we work with. And when I look back at our earlier days, the clients that I thought were difficult were just due to my inability to understand how to onboard the right customer and what kind of educational content to provide them so that we built a strong foundation and a good relationship so we could manage the project successfully. And now like that pre-construction stage and accepting the right person or knowing that you can work with them and they can work with you, that is just the absolute key to success when looking to deliver custom homes.
What are your thoughts on the importance of awareness, and having what you're doing and your thoughts and your processes and your philosophies and your results and all that sort of stuff out on as many social media platforms as possible? I know you do a lot of it. You're very, very well known amongst builders all over the joint, it seems, through those efforts. What what sort of clicked in your mind to get you to do that? Because it is kind of unusual. You do see some builders do it, but the majority of builders, they just want to bang nails into wood. They don't want to do anything to do with social media and all of that crap. But I think it significantly disadvantages your business if you don't. I know there's plenty of builders that will go, well, I've got plenty of work. But I know that we talk about this all of the time. It's not about having plenty of work. It's like, do I have absolute niche projects that I have a passion for and wonderful people that we're working with as a team, really high A class people. And I've got a line around the block and I don't have the capacity to deal with all of these quality projects and people. That's oversubscribed. It's not just being full. So what are your thoughts on the importance of social media presence, and what clicked in your mind to get you to start to do that?
So initially, I think that all anyone ever wants is to be shown that you care about what you're doing in life. So our direction for the building industry is obviously to educate ourselves so we can educate others, and in the process, just continually build better homes and healthier homes for our customers. So we use that tool. We put it out on social media and we explain some of the pitfalls in the current building industry and what we're doing to implement change. And we also want to educate the other builders throughout this process so we can show them why this is going to future proof their business and ultimately remove the risk from their homes and for their customers in the years to come. Because for me, like I'm only quite early in my building career, 6.5 years in now, and I hear a lot of horror stories about builders being 10, 15 years in and having a lot of jobs begin to fail. And as for reputation in a small island like Tassie, you need to ensure that when you build a home, it's not something that you're going to be going back and pulling apart in the years to come. So our our quest, I suppose, on personal development and betterment of the building industry is based on longevity of the business and the homes that we build and the satisfaction of our customers.
So you mentioned the betterment of the building industry, and I know that you have a passion to to contribute to that, as do I. That's sort of why I get up every day. I want to contribute to the betterment of the whole industry. And I know that you're working on a project. I think, is it called Future Builder, something like that?
Yeah, Future Builder Co. Yep.
Yeah. Tell us about that. What are you trying to do with it? What do you want to accomplish with it? Why are you so passionate about it?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a joint venture between myself and Luke from Davies Construction and Matt from Tassie Visuals. Basically, what we're looking to do is create a community for people looking to improve the built environment for homes. So we basically want to bring all of the people that care about the industry into one place, and then we want to provide the resource to educate them on how to deliver. So, for example, we're going to be running a building business owners course. We're going to look to do a dream home mastery course for customers coming in that want to look to build their dream home but don't know where to start. This is just to mitigate the risk of going out and hopping on Google and selecting a builder that's not suitable for them. And then we also want to do a designer and architect's course as well so that we can kind of help everyone, like the client, the builder, and the architect, all need to work together from day one. Like that's how you deliver a successful home. Is the builder's going to know the financial side of the job, the customer's going to know what their expectations for their dream or forever home are, and then the architect's going to be the one with a skill set to be able to deliver on that. So our job is basically just to bring in a community of people that just want to better the industry, look after the planet, and just provide resources and help each other. Just lift the built environment standard for Australia.
So in Black Belt, we're forever having conversations about the three reasons people start their business or go out on their own versus working with somebody else, and that's money, time, and meaning. And we talk about it very specifically in that order. We have processes in place to make sure you get your financial act together before you start buying solutions to get some time freedom. But when you've got some money and you've got some time freedom, then we need to look at impact and legacy or meaning, your cause. And I know that you're super passionate about what you were just talking about. And I just want to get your thoughts on how important it is, if you are the owner of a building business, to be at least begin to start to think about what your legacy could be, or what your just cause could be, or what your thing is that you can contribute to or leave behind to motivate you to do what needs to be done to get your financial act together, because you need the money to do this, and the time freedom act together because you need some time freedom to work on this cause. And my feeling is, if you haven't got some clarity on that vision or that purpose, you tend to just still get sucked into the business, and you don't do what you need to do to get rid of the financial pressure, and you don't need to do what you need to do to stop chucking out 100 hours a week, and killing yourself. How important in your mind is it, even if you can't contribute to it at the moment because you don't have the time and the money, how important is it to be thinking about it and dreaming it and capturing it anyway?
Oh, I think that's the key element to anything you do in life. You've got to care about what you're doing. And I think that for me personally, I'm on this journey because I had some difficult times in my career, and I want to help other builders get through those difficult times without facing the same challenges. So that's the professional development, the business coaching side of things that I enjoy. But then with improving the built home, that's just an aspiration because like we just want to be better at what we do every day. If you're not turning up to work with a goal to continually improve, then you're stagnant. If you're stagnant, you're not growing. So we've got that aim for continual growth for the team. And then also what I want to do for my boys is provide a great workplace. Like I think our almost like our legacy or what we stand for at the moment is the culture that we have in the team. You see by the way the boys acted at the awards that we were the biggest team there. We took everyone. We had a great night, and the apprentices were all drunk and coming up to me, giving me cuddles and saying best boss ever and all that. And like to me, that's why I turn up and do what I do, because I want these boys to love their job and be proud to wear the Zanetto Builders logo on their shirt every day, because we want to make it like a family. We want to support each other, and then we know if something goes wrong, one of us is there to pick each other back up. And then the day, getting up and going to work, if you don't have that, you're not going to enjoy your job.
Mm. I love what you said there about the objective is really just constant improvement. It's, you hear so many people, they get all fired up after watching a motivational video or something. So we want to be the best in the, in that area, or the best at this. And it's like, well, you might get there, but it'll only last 5 minutes because some other dude who wants to be the best is going to come and knock you off. So there's constantly this, win, loss, defeat, victory battle, and it's, in my experience, it's not a great place to live. Like, some of the time you're super happy, and then the rest of the time you're pissed off or sad or depressed or whatever it might be, versus setting an objective to improve. So we were here yesterday. What can we do to be here today? And get the team involved and all of that sort of stuff. How important is it to have a culture of, I guess, constant and never-ending improvement, rather than talking about big moonshot objectives that you want to get to and be the best of the best and all of this sort of palaver?
Yeah, it's very important. And I think the big mindset switch for me recently has been when I read The Gap and the Gain too. Like, um, we've made massive improvements in the past 24 months in the business, and it's something that if we can do that again in the next 24 months, then who knows where we'll be in 5 years' time. I'm quite lucky that I've got a really strong leadership group within my team, and they hold everyone accountable too. Like, there's no compromise on quality for cost. This is what we stand for. These are our values. We're going to deliver this no matter what. So I think that having that mindset throughout the team as well, not just myself, is very valuable. So yeah.
So as a rule, I don't disagree with guests on the podcast. I'm going to break that rule today and disagree with you from the perspective that you said you're very lucky to have that good leadership team. It's got nothing to do with luck, because it's got everything to do with who chose them. It's got everything to do with who onboarded them. It's got everything to do with who contributes to the consistent focus of a quality culture that has a commitment to constant, never-ending improvement. So I will disagree with you on how you've presented that. It's got nothing to do with luck. It's got everything to do with your choice to begin with, who you pick, but how you manage them, support them, reward them, encourage them, cheerlead them, acknowledge them, hold them to account. All of those things, all of that leadership stuff, the culture, the environment, that's the thing that creates a great leadership group. So you can change your language around that in future. It's got nothing to do
And
with luck.
You've got to give them the opportunity to grow. Like, that's one of the
100%.
biggest things I've learned in the past 12 to 18 months, is that you've got to trust your team, you've got to provide them with the resources, and you've got to let them steer the ship.
Yep.
Because you need to get buy-in from everyone in your team for a greater cause, because one person can't row the boat. You need a team of rowers to
Yep.
go in a straight line at a good pace, I guess.
Yep.
So yeah, like, I trust my boys completely. And now that I've been off site for the past 12 months, their on-site skills and the way that they think something needs to be done is going to be better than me anyway, most of the time. So they've got free reign. They've got good personal development opportunities and training budgets, so we can continually upskill them in areas of their passion. And yeah, they're making this business grow just as much as me.
How hard was that? Because you'll hear people say it, but it's a whole nother animal to believe it and do it, to be able to step away. And what we see is that more often than not, the owner of the business is the bottleneck. They think they are the best at everything. More often than not, they're the worst at everything. And so if they're setting the standards, they're holding people back, and they don't let people that are better than them take over various areas, like your bookkeeping and things like that, as an example. What went through your mind, or how did you arrive at the place where you could behave in line with what you just said then? Because it's all well and good to say it. You got to trust your team. but you're sneaking around with, video cameras and closed circuit TV and reporting and all of that sort of stuff to keep a rein on things, and people think that's trusting the team. That's not trusting the team. How did you get there? What shifted up here?
To be honest, it probably took 5 years. I was a bit of a serial micromanager when I was on the tools, and then when I transitioned to off the tools, I'd still be trying to micromanage my team. And it's just that mindset switch, I suppose, for me to put myself in their shoes when they've been on site 40 hours in the sun that week, doing their best to deliver a premium product, and then I'm turning up because I've had a bad day and having to go on them for not getting enough done when realistically I didn't have any idea of how they've been doing things or what they've done. It's just because I've turned up and just had that mindset. So
Mm,
yeah, I think that is what it is. You just need to put yourself in their shoes.
yeah.
It's really, really simple.
Um, Simple, not easy, I would say.
Yeah.
So you've said a few times, if we knew what we knew back then, or if we knew what we knew now back then, things would be different and all that sort of stuff. And I know you haven't got a crystal ball and can't see into the future. But if I was talking to you in let's say 5 years from now, what would we be talking about? What would Zanetto Builders look like? What would you be doing? What would you have achieved in that past 5 years since we last spoke?
Oh, that's a good question, Nick. I'd like to be. I still think that the direction we're going right now is the path we want to be on. So
Yeah.
in 5 years' time, we want to be known as that staple company in the industry that's delivering a premium product and a really healthy home for our customers. And I want to also just nail down our customer service and just ensure that the clients that we do work with, they have an amazing experience. And on the educational side of things, once we get the opportunity and the finances to help other people, then we really want to start just putting our learnings back into the community, in the building industry. So whether that comes through coaching or courses or training days or charity, I'm a big believer in charity, and there's some pretty amazing people in our group, like the Perway team with the pay it forward principle. That's something that I'd really like to support. I think that once you find yourself in a position to give back, then that's what you should be doing a lot of the
Mm,
time, because that's what really makes you feel good as a person, doing something external to help someone else grow.
yeah. Yeah, they're certainly amazing people over there in the West with their Build It Forward, where they find worthy people and go and do a renovation or whatever for somebody who deserves it but can't afford it, and they do it all for free, and it's just inspirational stuff. It's just incredible. So this has been a wonderful conversation. I really hope that people listening to this can gain some inspiration from it. Moreover, I hope there might be some shifts in some mindsets, because what I was hoping to do with this conversation is cover some very standard garden variety mindsets that I think that the majority of builders experience, about holding on to things, about not asking for help, about, trusting their team, getting their money right, getting their mindset right, all of those sorts of things that we covered, and get you to start to think about working on yourself rather than in your business, because it can make an absolute profound difference. So thank you very much for being so generous and spending some time and telling us your story and sharing your philosophy with us. Has been fantastic. I hope everyone's enjoyed it.
No, thanks very much for having me, Mick. And yeah, to anyone listening to this, Zanetto Builders, feel free to reach out, pick up the phone, give me a call. I'm here to help. So thank you.
Yeah. And we will have links to Zanetto Builders, etc., in the description for this podcast episode. So thank you very much, Kyle. That's it for this episode of The Tool Shed. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope that you take some action and start to read some stuff, listen to some stuff, maybe jump into The Tool Shed. I think I recorded episode 156 of the Builders Business Success podcast yesterday. So there's a bit in there that you can go in and listen to, and you can ask questions. And like Kyle said, those people that Kyle hangs around with are in that environment, and they are very, very supportive, giving, knowledgeable, fun people to hang around. So jump into the tool shed. Don't hide in the background and go, oh, I'll just sit there and listen. Get in there and ask some questions. Ask for some help. Put forward some challenges so people can jump on there and help you out. And when we do that as a community, what happens is we all move further faster. It's like the peloton in a push bike race, the Tour de France. The peloton's always going to go further and faster than the single rider. And that's what we need to do. So jump into the tool shed and start asking questions. As Kyle said, if you've got any specific things that you'd like a hand with that Kyle might be able to help you with, he's been generous enough to put the links in the description so you can reach out and have a conversation. So hope that's been helpful. That is it for this episode of The Tool Shed. We'll be back with another episode of The Tool Shed podcast. Before you know it, I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. That is all. I am out. Bye for now.